from the hunters to the hunted. That's not a position we've seen Golden State in very much over the last decade. We all know, right, that the trio of Steph, Clay, Draymond, they were effective when they shared the floor in Golden State. But if you look at the numbers, actually, over the last 4 years, Curry and Green, they were actually even a little bit better without Thompson on the court. So Big Perk, take us through the chemistry that Steph and Dre have here.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm not a Warriors hater. I actually appreciate
Feels like you are.
I actually appreciate Steph and Draymond in their two-man game that don't get talked about enough. And look at this beautiful action right here, right? Draymond Green basically playing the point guard, right? Steph is going to come off for a handoff. We know he's the best shooter, but look at this screen by Draymond Green. This is why he's so valuable. The IQ, the screen without getting the offensive foul to free up the greatest shooter to ever touch the damn basketball. Here goes misdirection, fluff on the weak side with a dribble handoff. All of a sudden, Draymond and Steph are on the same page. And listen, you got to pay attention to Steph so much. Draymond, he knows this is opportunity to slip the screen and go to the basket. Yes, we talk about Jokic and Murray. Yes, we talk about all the duos in the league, but when it comes down to chemistry-wise, one of the greatest duos to ever do it offensively is these two brothers right here.
And maybe that's why Steve Kerr said during training camp that Steph and Draymond, they are the only two locks to start for the Warriors this season. And honestly, that makes sense. The Warriors, they trotted out 27 different starting fives last year with no group starting more than 13 games. But I like what you said, Perk, talking about with all the uncertainty that's going on with Golden State, they do have that chemistry to rely on with Draymond and with Steph Curry. But I guess the question is, Brian, since we've seen them knocking on so many doors, is that enough?
Yeah, so they obviously have a lot of depth. The question is, are they going to keep it? So I'm just going to tell you that 3 times that we know of, there could be more, they've tried since the winter to make a big deal. They called the Lakers on LeBron. It didn't go anywhere, but they called. They tried to get Paul George all the way up into his opt-out deadline before he went over to the Philly 76ers. And then right after they didn't get him, they tried to get Lauri Markkanen. So my question is, they may keep going after a big game. They may keep hunting. And let's watch what happens with Jonathan Kuminga in the next 2 weeks. October 21st is his extension deadline. I think if he extends, it'll probably be a 9-figure deal if he does. He's going to be a Warrior for the time being. If he doesn't extend, I think the chances of him being a trade target increase. And you got to really watch that as the Warriors watch what else happens in the league as they look for another target.
Well, Malika, if the question is, does Steph Curry and Draymond Green enough, they're answering that. The Warriors are. Forget about what we think. Mike Dunleavy, Joe Lacob, Steve, all the decision makers, by going after guys like Paul George and Markkanen, they're saying it's not enough. Forget about what we think. The internal people that know more than we do are saying, we need help, we need more. Now, they didn't get it done. It doesn't mean it won't get done. There's star players that are available, but the deeper you go into the season, it is hard when you pivot, even in the middle of the season, to grab a star and think you can develop what you talked about, that chemistry. People, look at Lillard and Giannis last year. You think you just snap, that guy got traded right before the season started. They're still trying to find that chemistry. So I think the Warriors are saying it's not enough. I do worry, though, the sooner you get a player, the better chance you have of that player being impactful. Just plugging a player in at the deadline is hard to do.
But here's the question I want to throw out there, right? We talk about them going hunting. What prey is out there for them, right? Like, who are they eyeing? Like,
See, buddy.
what you mean? No, I don't want to wait and see. I want to know now.
Always another star on the horizon.
I get it.
By the way, shout out the legend Doris Burke on the
DB.
call for this game. But you're all right, though. Saying that you're going big game hunting and actually doing that are two completely different things. Steph Curry turns 37 this year. How patient can they afford to be?
Well, I'll tell you what. People want to play with Steph Curry, as they should.
Yeah.
So that's a huge advantage. People want to play for that organization. It's a world-class organization. So some teams go big game hunting, and the prey goes like, I'm not going. I'm not. And by the way, now the way the NBA works is you can go after it, and that player has power. Yeah, I'm not going there. I'm not re-signing there.
But why not maximize what you have right now in two guys, especially Jonathan Kuminga, that you drafted with the lottery pick? He showed signs last season, averaging a career-high 16 points per game. Like, he's going to continue to improve. I'm just saying, like, I understand going out there and getting a big name, but when you have a culture like they have, when you have leadership in Draymond and Steph, you don't have enough, faith in those guys that they could bring those other young bucks along?
Right now, that is what's going to happen, right? We will see. That is what's happening right now.
I feel what you're saying, but they're still doing trade talks.
Well,
So what does that tell you, the way they feel?
and Kuminga's only 22 years old. He just turned 22.
And it's not his fault,
so
right?
he's
That's not his.
An incredibly young player that now they're just still having to figure out here. Here's Brian Windhorst.
Zero
I'm
chance.
Malika Andrews. Yeah, you and me over here.
No chance.
Yeah.
We're 30 minutes away from tip-off between the Kings and the Warriors, so let's not waste any time here, gentlemen. Both of these teams look very different than they did the last time that we saw them getting bounced in the play-in tournament. Perk, I'm going to start with you here. How would you assess both of their off seasons? And let's start with the home team, the Sacramento Kings.
I mean, listen, the Sacramento Kings, in my opinion, have an opportunity, and they're going to be a top 5 offensive team, have a top 5 offense in the entire NBA. They're that dangerous. When I look at them, I got a name for them. They're going to be the soul snatchers. They're going to be the soul snatchers, seriously, because if you're one of the top teams that's going to be favored, and I know we're in the preseason, but when you're looking down the line in April or May, they're going to be a team between 5 and 10 that those top teams in the postseason, you don't want to see them because they're going to snatch your soul and end your dreams. They could end anybody's dreams in the first round with the players that they have. When you think about a five that they could have on the floor, right, to end the games, DeMar DeRozan, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, and Sabonis, right? And they have closers. This is a dangerous team, the Soul Snatchers.
Who's defending out of that group?
It don't matter. The offense go get it done.
I will say, Sac won 46 games last year, and they probably made one of the biggest additions in the whole Western Conference by getting DeMar DeRozan. And you think about them in close games. Yeah, they might struggle with that lineup to get stops, but think of the clutch play that they're going to have. De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan are two of the most dominant players in the clutch we have in the entire NBA. How do you guard that when you get into that pick and roll game with Domantas Sabonis? Speaking of depth, especially on the perimeter, let's look at the other team tonight. How about the Golden State Warriors? Steve Kerr told me he thinks he's got 13 guys that he could actually feel good about playing. He's got a selection of guys that can play two ways. And while we're going to focus a lot early this season on the Warriors offense, they're focused on their defense. They ranked 15th in defense last year. They want to get back in to the top 10 where they were year after year when they were competing for championships.
Is that a good thing, though, Bob? I mean, 13 different players vying for some real rotation minutes. That sounds like a conundrum.
Yeah, look, if you're the GM, it's great, right? It's great. You did a good job. The coach is saying publicly, I got 13 guys. That's your job. Give the coach some tools to work with. But for a coaching staff, and any coach will tell you this, managing expectations of these players, Malika, is not simple, especially veteran players. You got 13 young guys, 5 guys aren't playing. They know that it's not their time, they're not ready. You got vets that are expecting to play. That can be a challenge for a coach, especially you lose a few games, and then it gets really challenging. But look, 13 guys is all good and great. One year, Malika, we were in the NBA Finals for a few years in a row, and a reporter said, are you worried about your bench scoring? And I think we've been to the finals 4 years in a row. I said, what do you think our bench scoring was the last 3 or 4 years? 27th in the league, 26th in the league, 25th. This is about stars. This league is about stars. But in this West, I will say, to get to the playoffs, you're going to need a deep team because the West has probably never been more competitive just to get to the playoffs.
Right. And this Warriors team, I mean, Steve Kerr has said he knows that Draymond Green will be in the starting lineup. He knows Steph Curry will be in the starting lineup. Beyond that, that is what he is going to need to figure out, and he's starting to use this preseason to do so. You mentioned